Unless you've been living under a rock in the remote wilderness of the Sahara Desert, you probably know about the fact that Nintendo has announced the Legend of Zelda movie. As a Zelda fan, I hate this. But probably. The odds of Nintendo making this an irredeemable nightmare are close to 100. You either appeal to the general public and make the fans despise you for the rest of the century, or you appeal to the fans and don't get any money from people who don't care about Zelda. Alright, back it up. What am I, a mentally ill recluse, talking about? Well, if you've been a big fan of the Zelda series for a long time, you'll know that turning it into a comprehensible movie is near impossible. And considering the success of the Mario movie, most people would expect Nintendo to create a high-quality Zelda movie. There has to be some reason why I'm spending more effort writing the script than I do on most of my essays in English class. That's because Mario is way easier to turn into a movie. It's just some Italian dude committing genocide against the Koopas. There really isn't much need for a super complicated story. You just need a cartoon turtle to kidnap a cartoon princess, and suddenly you're making more money than Oppenheimer. Zelda works differently. Each game has its own complex story with tons of tie-ins to other games. Rarely did the games take place less than 100 years apart. For Nintendo to make a compelling story that appeals to the fan base while also being entertaining to little kids and their parents would require divine intervention. Not even Shakespeare could figure out how to do it. You either have to make a completely new story that is all a part of the Zelda canon and make all the fans want to start a world war, or you make a really dumb story that makes Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land look like the game of the year and cause everyone to boycott the existence of a green elf kid. The best case scenario would be basing the movie on a pre-existing game. If that game happens to be either of the Switch games, I will personally ensure that the Nintendo of America headquarters turns into a homeless encampment. These games have mediocre stories, fight me. If any game was turned into a movie, Skyward Sword is by far the best option. It actually has a compelling story. One small issue. This is only going to appeal to fans. When little Timmy goes to see the movie with his mom, he's going to have no idea what's going on since the story is much more complicated than some idiot princess getting captured by a weird man like the Mario movie. I'm convinced a dog with Alzheimer's could understand the Mario movie. The plot of Skyward Sword is way too involved for the average skibbity toilet watching Fortnite player to actively comprehend. It even required me to play through the entire game twice to understand all the little details of the plot. The fact that a large chunk of the lore is heavily connected to other games, that could cause a serious issue, since they would need to make a movie for almost every single game. Obviously, Nintendo isn't going to do that. Another small issue, not really that small, is that it has to be a children's movie. When the main character's weapon of choice is a sword, you would want to see them brutally dismembering innocent bokoblims and stabbing the eyes out of Octoroks. We need to keep it PG. That's a huge issue. It's not going to be fun to watch. There'll be no real action, and Nintendo wouldn't dare risk losing millions of dollars because helicopter parents won't let their kids watch PG-13 movies until they turn 25. Twilight Princess didn't sell as well as it possibly could have because of its illogical T rating. Some illogical T ratings also include Smash Bros. Brawl and Melee. I wouldn't be surprised if some little ankle biter stopped believing in Santa because he didn't get Brawl for Christmas. Movie ratings play a serious role in how successful it is. When you make a game that 4-year-olds play, you aren't going to make an R-rated movie. The reason FNAF was PG-13 was because, you guessed it, the original game had an illogical T rating. We all know that the ESRB is completely brain dead, but sometimes that enables people to put stuff into sequels that would not be in a kid's game since you have an older audience. I would be severely disappointed if the monsters just disappear after being hit. Most people would want to see carnage that would put D-Day to shame. It seems like no matter what path Nintendo takes, the movie would be worse than the people who still think Ohio is funny. Moving on from the subject of wanting to see dismemberment in a kid's movie, I wholeheartedly believe that whatever actors they pick will make me want to throw myself off of the Burj Khalifa. I just know that Nintendo is going to pick the most overrated, undeserving cast of actors. If I see Tom Holland playing Link, I will burn down my house out of pure rage. Instead of picking well-known actors, they should pick good actors, so not Tom Holland. I have a particular distaste for his stands, which consist mostly of Starbucks drinking Taylor Swift listening white girls. I do not want to see Dwayne Johnson taking the role of Zelda. Just pick some random kids off the street and tell them to act. I predict that Nintendo's choice of actors will cause me to leave the theater while aggressively projectile vomiting. If the Mario movie has taught us anything, it's that Chris Pratt should never play another acting role ever again. I will watch the movie as long as there isn't an all-out war among the writers which would cause it to get cancelled. I will give my opinion and see if I was right. Anyway, I think I've ranted enough to make the CIA want to take me into questioning for the things I said in this video. Good night to everyone, except for people who like Breath of the Wild.